you tell us a little bit about what the Silva method is?
Well, Richard, it all began when we were researching with people, experimental in the area of the brain with the electrocephalograph. And we found that some people, when given a question or problem to solve, they would we put a digital counter on the electrocephalograph to see at what number the brain frequency of the brain is functioning when they're actually concentrating on trying to figure out a problem, to solve it, you know. And we found that 90% of them stayed on 20 vibrations, 20 cycles per second, and only 10% went to 10 cycles trying to figure out the answer. And when they thought they had it, they went up to 20 and then gave us the answer, see. And that was interesting because then we said, what's the difference between these people, the 20-cycle thinker, and the 10-cycle thinkers, you know? You see, the brain frequency spectrum is on the average of 20. Well, 10 is right at the center, the half of it, you see. So we call the 10-cycle thinkers centered thinkers, and the others eccentric thinkers. So we wanted to know how do they live their life, the eccentrics, as compared to the center people. And we found tremendous differences between one and the other.
That's amazing.
And that's how it started.
And by doing this, or by finding out what level of I guess, what level your mind fires thoughts, you are able to slow down the thinking process, or slow down the waves coming from the mind?
Right. When we found that there was a beneficial to slow down the brain, to function at 10 cycles, to look for information, to solve a problem, then we started to look for means and ways how to slow it down. So we started figuring out mind or mental training exercises, mental gymnastics we call it, through visualization and imagination, to bring it down, slow it down to where everybody can think at 10 and act at 20. So the way it is now, we have found that the right brain hemisphere is for thinking and the left one is for acting. We're thinking and acting only with the left one.
I see.
We're out of sync.
So we got to get in sync. And Ed Byrne, I know you're the Director of Communications for the Silva Method, and you are also a journalist in your own right. I know you've worked for newspapers and radio programs and what have you. And now how long have you been on board with the Silva Method?
Been here in Laredo for more than 14 years. It's been 20 years since I first got involved with it.
My gosh. And what have you learned? What's the most important thing you've learned over the past 14 years here in Laredo?
Oh, that we have so much more ability to get information, so much ways to raise our awareness. Remember back in the 70s and the 60s, they were talking about consciousness expansion. Well, when you have more consciousness, when you're more aware. And like he was saying, you become aware of so much more information at that alpha level using the right brain hemisphere, because most people never use the right brain hemisphere for thinking. It's like opening a whole new dimension for us.
Let's differentiate the right and the left. Mr. Silva, how do we differentiate? What does the right brain think about as opposed to the left brain?
The left brain has to do with the physical, logical things. It reigns in the world of the body, physics, physical material. And the right one reigns in the world of the mind. Now, there's nothing the mind cannot do. It's a law of physics that keeps the body being accomplished what the mind is capable of doing. So there's nothing the mind cannot do. So we have two sets of sensing mechanisms, one on the left and one on the right. One of the objective senses, and the other, right, it is subjective senses. And each one detects information and stores it in the brain. But information stored in the left brain hemisphere, a duplicate is transferred to the right. And information stored in the right, no duplicate is transferred to the left. So there's more information in the right than there's in the left. The information accumulated by the objective senses and the subjective senses. So a tremendous, treasure there of information. And we need information to solve problems. And so we need information to solve problems. And information is subjective. Information is not physical. It has to do with the mind. So if we can get in there and slow down the brain to get all this information there, there will be a single problem that we could not solve.
So it's the right brain that we don't use a lot of.
That's right. Only 10% of people use it by natural means. They didn't know they were using it. But there's the luckiest, the healthiest, the most successful people in the world. In other words, Richard, this is the way it looks. A person that doesn't have this training is more time wrong than right on major decisions, gets sick with psychosomatic health problems, and more accident prone. A person who knows how to use this system does not get sick with psychosomatic health problems. That's one tremendous benefit. because medical science says that more than 90% of all health problems are psychosomatic. You're clear of all of those. You will not contract them. So then this is one thing. You'll be safer, less accidents, and you're more times right than wrong on major decisions. That means success in life. The more successful you are, the better. The more mistakes you make, the more that you suffer, and the more stress, and you hurt your immune system.
That makes sense. Now, the concept of time.
Yes.
Where is that? Where do we feel that the concept of time, or the knowledge that we are in time?
Time, as we know it, it's our own invention. You know this. I mean, the sun has no numbers. We want to say, well, when it's coming out 6 a.m., overhead 12 noon, and when it's down 6 p.m. But there's no such a thing. It's our own figures we put onto the sun as it moves. So time moves. Behind us is the past, where we stand is the present, and ahead of us is the future. That is the left brain. But the right brain, the past is on the right, the future, the present is still in front of you, and the future is to the left. So we need to know in what direction do we place things to be able to proceed in the future. We cannot get to do nothing in the past. We get information from the past only to solve future problems. But there's nothing we can do in the past. We can do it presently for future means, you see.
I see. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about things about time and how if you are able to manipulate it in some way through the mind, but time is nothing more than the passage of the ever constant present, correct?
Well, how's that you say, Mr. So? The past is composed of?
The past is composed of materialized thoughts. The present is where we're materialized in thoughts. And the future is composed of conceived thoughts, not yet materialized.
Very interesting. Let me ask you this. I'd like to ask you, Ed, we talk a lot about laws of success. You all are talking about metaphysical laws of success, and you have a seminar coming up where you're going to be discussing these metaphysical laws. And the first law of success has to do with slowing down the brain frequency to 10 CPS, or the alpha wave. Could you tell me a little bit about how you achieve that level of mind?
Okay. The door to the left brain is at 20 vibrations, brain frequency. The door or connection to the right brain is at 10 vibrations. So we bypassed that when we were 10 years of age, when the brain was maturing then. So if we didn't pick it up then we have to learn how to slow down our brain to the age brain-wise as to when we were 10 years of age, to be able to go through the door and then use what information is there. Use the right brain hemisphere to think with also. This is the way to do it is use visualization and imagination type of exercises. We need to explain first to people what is visualization and how to practice it to enhance it. Then we need to explain to them what is imagination. How do you visualize and imagine with the left brain hemisphere? What is it visualizing and imagining with the right brain hemisphere? Then practice mental training exercises. We call it mental gymnastics, to be able to, by so doing, gradually slowing down through relaxation, first to relax the brain and body and everything.
Slowing down the breathing.
To find that dimension. Once we find it, we need to lock it on, lock it in, and then start practicing to activate our mind again and body as like we did before, and function as we did before now, but now we know where the connection is. But in order to get there, we need to use visualization, imagination, mental training exercises, mental gymnastics, to slow down the brain to find that door. Once we find it, we open it, and then from there on we'll never lose it.